In this video, I'm gonna create a logo of two people shaking hands, graphical people. Now, I can use the pen tool, of course, but I'm gonna explore other ways. For example, let's see if I can use the brush tool to create something like this. This will give us the chance to learn about the brush tool. So, if I take the brush and create something, alright, now these are still vector object, meaning that they can be rotated, for example, and I can go to my direct selection tool, select a point and move it around. So that's an advantage over drawing something in Photoshop where you cannot alter what you have created. Alright, so there's my brush tool, and here I have the stroke width. I'm gonna set it to something a bit more than 1. Say 3. Now if I go to brushes, here I have a list of brushes that I can use. Alright, so that's the 3-point stroke. If I click there, I get bigger brushes and so forth. So I have brushes to choose from, but I also have other types of brushes. By the way, if I'm in the brush tool and I want to delete stuff or select stuff, I press Control and that would take me to the selection tool, and then I can select, delete, and then I'm taken back to the brush tool later. So in whichever tool you were, if you press Control, you are taken to the selection tool to select some objects if you like. Alright, now here, if I choose other brushes, you see that you have artistic brushes, right? So these are used to create, for example, something artistic like this. Alright, again, select and delete. Here you have a thicker brush for this. So let's say, for example, that I was creating a tree, a palm tree. I would select a green brush and I would go like this. Now here I want to change the color of the stroke and not the fill, so I click to put the stroke on top, and then whatever I change will be applied to the stroke. Now if I go here, I see that the first one disappeared. If I press Control and click, I would deselect the first one, and therefore I can add new ones. Alright, I'm sure that you have very interesting comments to say while I explain. I'm sure. Alright, now I select this. I want to make it bigger, so I'm gonna choose 2. It's maybe my mistake because I'm recording this for you. It shows that you really appreciate what I do for you. Okay, I'll select the second one and give it a stronger or a wider thickness, let's say 3. Because I want to create depth, so the ones that go in the back will be thinner, right? So these 2 would take a stroke of 2 and so forth. I can also alter the color. So if I selected, for example, these ones at the left side, at the right side, I can double click and make the color a bit darker, and select the ones at the right side, double click and make the color brighter to give the impression of the sun hitting, and in the back I'll just leave it the way it is. Alright, so these are vector shapes, meaning that I can alter them in any way I like. Preferably press Shift when you do that. Now to create the trunk of the tree, I'm gonna use a really thick brush. So I'll select and increase the thickness from here, and I want it to be brown. Now I want to put these on top of that. So I have them selected, Control right bracket, and I have them like this. I don't like this to be so thick, so I can reduce the stroke size back to 3. And if I want to give it an angle, I can select the points and just move them around. Alright, so this is how you can use the brush to create graphics. Of course, I strayed away from what I wanted to do at the beginning, but that was just to explain about the brush. So once you have this, you can select and press Ctrl G to group, and now this is one object that you can work with. Now let's say that I wanted to use this tree over and over later in my work. I can save it. I can go to symbols and I can drag it into my symbols library and call it, for example, my tree. So if I close this and opened a new file, I didn't save, but if you have saved, if I did save, I can use it back from the symbols library. Alright, see what I'm gonna do now to create the logo that I was after at the beginning. Since I need straight lines, I'm gonna use the pen tool. If I didn't need straight lines, I would use the brush, because the brush will give you these squiggly lines. But since I need straight ones, I'm gonna use the pen tool. And I'll go like this. Alright, so that's what I have. I'm gonna increase the brush size, say to 10. Now I can select and I can change the line here after I've created with the pen tool. Alright, if I wanted to change it to something else. Alright, and maybe this is too thick. Let's try 3. Okay, back to the pen tool. I'll go like this. At the end, I'll give it the right stroke. But for now, I'll just move the points into place. And I'll continue the other side. So with the pen tool, alright, now this should be filled, this should actually be behind the other one. So I'm gonna fill it with white for now. Alright, and control left bracket to place it behind. This one should also be filled with white. And let's select both. If I click here, I can, with the eyedropper, give them the same brushes as this one. Or I can select the brushes from here and increase the size to 3. Alright, now once I use the eyedropper, alright, so that's what I have here. I have this one. I'll put it in the back. It is in the back. And let's see, let's change the thickness. Something like this. So now I have one. I need a circle at the top. I'll press shift for that. Let's say that I want to tilt it forward. I want to tilt it forward to the right side a little bit. I would select the whole thing and I'll go to Effect, Distort, and Free Distort. And from here, I'm actually gonna move the points like this. So that way this guy is going to be tilted to the right. I'll press OK, and there you have it. I'll just move this like so. So if I selected this guy now, the whole thing, I want to mirror it to the other side. So I'm going to click on the reflect tool, set the center, say here, press Alt and Shift to have the other ones. But it didn't work very well because I need to group Control G into one object. That way it would have one center. And then reflect, click with an Alt. Alright, let's ungroup because it didn't work the way I wanted it to work. I'm gonna actually go to Pathfinder, and I'm gonna combine the shapes together into one object like this, or let's see which would give me a better result. Alright, in this case I divided them into separate objects, and I will delete the stuff that I don't want. The reason I got the problem is because of the distort. So I'm gonna choose object and expand appearance, and then I'll group them again. Control G. This is one object now, and then I would reflect. If I want to reflect a copy, I press Alt when I do it, and then I would have to. So I repeat, the reason I got the problem is because I chose effect, distort, and free distort. It's a good thing to use it, but once you use it and you want to reflect, you have to choose object and expand appearance. And that's how I would create something like this, scaled down. And I can add the extra stuff later.